Call the October 14, 2024 Goshen Board of Education meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. Mr. Schenkel, can you please call the roll?
Mr. West. Here. Mrs. Werke.
Here.
Mrs. Paprocki.
Here.
Mr. Rivera. Here. Mrs. Gray.
Here. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda of tonight's board meeting?
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Schenkel, can you please call the roll?
Mr. West.
Yes.
Mrs. Werke.
Yes.
Mrs. Paprocki.
Yes.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Mrs. Gray.
Yes. I'd like to call for a moment of silence as we think about the devastation that took place in our community and country the past few weeks. Let's think about those who were impacted by the recent car accident in our community and the national weather disasters in our nation, and our warriors who we lost over the past month. Thank you. Please stand as GHS Principal Stephanie Walker leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We welcome Ms. Stephanie Walker to introduce our Student Achievement of the Month, GHS students.
So I hope that you're ready to have a good time tonight because I have an incredible group of students here, as you can tell from sitting here in the pregame for the board meeting. They are a lot of fun. I am extremely proud to be able to have them represent our school and talk about a great opportunity that we had recently for them to attend the High Ames Student Leadership Conference. So with that being said, I'm going to have you guys come up here, and we've got a good presentation. So let's kind of go like this and a little, there we go, half moon, and we will start walking through this. So my first speaker today is going to be Miss Lauren Gray. And Lauren, come on, step up a tiny bit. And she's going to talk a little bit about the summary of the experience that you guys had at this leadership conference.
First, I want to thank you guys for having me and my fellow peers here with you. We went to a leadership conference about a week and a half ago. And at this conference, we learned how to become better leaders and how to bring our social skills back to GHS and make GHS a better place. And we went through and we did a couple activities that showed us how to become better leaders. And we wrote down some things that we think we are as good leaders and who we want to be as good leaders. And it was a good event that we learned a lot about how to become better leaders.
It's very good. And so Lauren kind of gave us a summary of what we're going to talk about next. I'm going to have each of our students here introduce themselves and then talk about what they do in a leadership role in our school. And then also give a couple characteristics that you believe defines you as a leader. So let's go ahead and start with you.
I'm Sophie Rojo. I'm the freshman vice president. And what I think I bring to the table for leadership is communication and accountability.
I'm Jenna Faulkner, and I'm the freshman student class president. And I think the traits I bring are passion and confidence.
I'm Lauren Gray, and I'm the sophomore class president. And the traits I think I bring is kindness, genuine, and being welcome.
I'm Carly Campbell, and I'm the sophomore vice president. And the traits I think that I bring is loyalty, independence, and honesty.
I'm Cohen Sizemore. I'm the junior class president, and the traits I believe I bring are optimism and creativity.
All right, I'm Gunnar Connor, and what I bring to the table of leadership here is communication, commitment, courage, funny, and thoughtful. And I recently also got elected as homecoming court, so as I do have a high honor in the roles, of course. So I do have partially in leadership too.
So how many of you are involved in something outside of student council, an athletic, a sport? You're at the Oaks.
Yeah.
Which is a whole different ballgame, which is super neat that you get to apply leadership skills almost every single day for the work that you do. But as you can see, they are well-rounded young men and women here that represent our school and get a great opportunity to be able to use some of those leadership skills that they were talking about. So next up, I'm so sorry to have to do this to all of you, but this is a you must participate type of board meeting, and you have to have a little bit of coordination too, is what I've heard. So Ms. Carly, come on up here, and I'm gonna let you roll this out.
Well, my first question is, who can't count to 3? Anybody?
Stuck to the going.
Okay. So I'm gonna have Lauren help me demonstrate, but we did many activities. We did many activities at the leadership conference, but one of our favorite ones was it was called 1, 2, 3 activity or something. But basically, so one person, you get a partner, and one person starts off 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you just keep going for 15 seconds. And then after we do that, we have more things to do, but we want you guys to do that. And if you fail, you just sit down. So find a partner, stand up, find a partner.
Exactly.
Okay. This is really tough.
Does everybody understand?
Wait, hold on.
Brian,
Okay.
Deborah, should I ask any clarifying questions?
If you want to, if you have any,
Oh, no, you're great.
but I can't give much direction. So
Also, you gotta go fast.
you just have to go. One person starts at 1, 2, 3, 1, 2,
We
3.
timed?
We'll say go.
We'll say go, but okay, you ready?
1,
And you have to go as fast as you can.
Okay, now.
Okay, ready? Set, go.
1, 3, 2, 3,
1,
2,
3,
1, 3,
2,
2,
1, 1.
Okay. Okay, that's it.
It has the first test.
Who? Yeah, everyone keep. Oh, there's more.
Stand back up.
Was that the practice round?
Who failed?
Carly?
You failed?
Yeah.
Anybody else fail?
We came really close.
Okay,
We were on the
okay.
buzzer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now this time we're gonna add something else to make it a little harder.
Don't say 4, don't say 4.
No. Not
Okay, so instead of saying 1, you're gonna clap. So
Oh.
2, 3, 2. Okay, do you get?
Exactly.
Wait, get it?
Only clap with one?
Just 1.
Clap.
Just for one.
Doing this for 5 seconds, right?
15.
50, sure.
I'm sure.
Keep going.
Ask questions.
Time
Yeah.
is here.
Say one.
No, you just. Okay, ready, set, go.
2, 2.
Okay.
I don't think that was hard enough, Carly.
Oh, no, that was.
Oh, there's one more.
Okay.
Let's one more.
Okay. Who failed that one?
I
did. I was close. I did.
Okay.
You guys can get a little vote there.
All right, now this one is the really, really tricky one. So, okay, so now you got the 1, 2, 3. Instead of saying 2, you stop. So you go 3, 3,
Yell.
3, like that. Okay.
So we stomp once or stomp twice?
You clap for the first one, and then the second one's a stomp.
Stomp,
And then you say 3.
Stomp.
Okay, ready? Set, go.
Start again.
1,
3,
3,
3, 3.
2.
3.
I know.
Oh,
3.
3.
Really good.
You know what? We were better at that one.
Okay.
3.
That was it. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we have one more.
Okay.
We're gonna go back to the basics and start over with the first one.
Just 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
1, 2, 3. Same thing. Okay. Ready, set, go.
I might see something different.
1,
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2,
2,
1, 2, 3,
1,
3.
2, 1.
Okay.
Oh, well, all right, we're good. We're good.
Okay, who failed that one? No one?
Nobody messed up.
So the point of that activity was to show that you need to push yourself in order to get better. Because the first time, who failed the first one the first time? You didn't fail the last time though, did you?
No.
Because you kept pushing yourself and then it made you better in the first one.
Good job.
So that kind of leads us to our next.
You're rude. I know I can't swear, Nancy. We are
So
going back to
it just, again, that activity just took place and Carly did a really nice job about what did you learn as you walk through this? We'll now go back and think about it in terms of leadership skills. So girls, go ahead and talk about first how you came up with this, and then your examples that you want to share.
All right, so why did we do that activity? So basically, us six as a group, we made our own leadership acrostic of all the character traits that we think every good leader should have. At the event we went to, we also did this in little groups where we took some of the main ones we thought were really strong and think every good leader should express. So one that we think was shown and expressed in this activity was learn. To be a good leader, you need to be able to be willing to learn from others and your peers.
Also, what we think was shown in this was hard work. Every time it got harder, you had to put in hard work to get better at it.
Right. And then we also said attentive. I think you all showed attentiveness. Basically, you were all like paying attention and had to really focus in to understand what you had to do.
Another thing that we thought you guys showed was determination, because every time it got harder, you had to be more determined in order to learn.
Overall, we think that these are some of the main top character traits that we think every good leader should have. And obviously, some of them are also shown from that activity, but also not just ones on here, but even more character traits were also shown throughout the activity.
Very good. And then last of all, I'm going to have Gunnar and Cohen talk about their takeaway and the plan of what they learned at this conference and how we're going to use this in the future.
Okay, so I'll start. So I'm gonna do the overall summary here, basically. So as we learned when we went to this leadership conference, we learned so much about being a leadership and what we kind of learned to take away from that and how we can actually make our school better. And one way we can figure out is definitely by trying to get more people involved overall, because that actually has been a huge problem. So that's one of our main goals, basically. And what we have learned from, of course, the leadership conference is that, well, we can, for one, focus on communication, determination, courage, or even just thoughtfulness of trying to get people to go to these.
So what does data tell us about students that get involved? Tell me about that.
So what I have researched and what Ms. Walker has researched over here is that students who actually participate, actually go to football games or baseball games or any type of activity clubs, organizations, it actually shows that they do a lot more better in school. And that's what we want overall, right? We want to get people to do better. Get straight A's, man. That's what we want at the end, right? So to me, I think it's a win-win situation. Let's get more people to go to these games.
So yeah, that was part of our action plan. While we were there, we developed one of those, and our main idea of it was to get students to come out to events more. And that's not just sporting events, but extracurricular events like band competitions and things like that. And like we said, that can that's a tie to how well students do in school. And I think that can really help the community come together. And Mr. Bailey
All right,
was talking to us about a leadership council. And I think that would be great to help us explain to you guys what the student body needs in GHS.
So before we turn them loose, are there any questions that you had based on what they presented to you today or things that they learned? Did something resonate with you that you would really like to be able to share or ask them?
Not all at once.
What would be one thing that you learned that you need to maybe focus on to do better from the conference? Yeah, just as because you're strong, your strong points,
So
and
you
then
guys
maybe what
talked
you can
about
work on.
This here, so look at it in terms of this, and maybe what is something that you personally think that you might need to be able to work a little bit harder on when you're reflecting.
Determination and persistence. As a group, we should be determined to show our student body we need to be there. So if we have the persistence of going to the different activities such as the sporting events or band competitions or the video game stuff. I know a lot of people don't show up to that, but if we start doing that, it'll help the whole student body maybe get together and want to go and show up for each other, and hopefully, and maybe get people interested too in different sports. Maybe people haven't ever gone to see this sport, but they go and they get interested and think maybe I could do that, and that seems interesting to me. So that's what we really want.
I think that's a great idea. You know what I was thinking of when you asked that question is specifically not so much students that do go or do participate, but maybe a student that struggles finding their place, or maybe a new student that comes into our building and they're by themselves and they're not sure how to be able to connect, right?
Yes, I was a new student back at middle school. I came to Goshen around 6th grade, and trust me, it was a totally new experience. I have no idea what it was like, but I had great people though who actually stick with me and actually kind of taught me, made new friends, an overall experience for me to actually enjoy Goshen district. And I love this place, and I want to be part of it, of course.
I agree with Gunnar. I came here in 5th grade, and it helped a lot knowing that I knew the entire basketball team because I had played with them for a while, and almost all of those girls that I was friends with, from the start, I'm still very close with. So I think.
Any other questions that you guys have?
So to be a leader, it's like you might have confidence in yourself and have a lot of friends or be outspoken. But to be a leader is another thing. To take those skills you have and apply them to leading other people. That's a whole other thing. So
Concept.
appreciate you guys doing this. This is pretty awesome.
I have a quick question. How did you guys enjoy connecting with other student leaders from other districts?
Fun, absolutely fun. Personally, got to meet new people, and I like meeting new people personally. But also, I got to see what their hobbies are like, what they like to do, what their school's like, or how it works over there. Seeing the different aspects of different areas.
One of the activities that we did is getting to talk about other schools and some of the different events and things that they do, and how that would be interesting to bring to our school. So other schools, they don't do homecoming like we do, quilt living and all that stuff. And getting to talk to them and hear about what they do and what we do, and just kind of sharing about the different things and how they take leadership and how we take leadership, and just trying to bring that back here if we think it's a good thing to do or whatnot.
You guys should know that we also go to high Ames events. So there are some for curriculum people, and I get to meet with all those district curriculum leaders, and we problem solve together and do the same exact thing on a curriculum level. And Mr. Bailey goes for superintendents too. Just a little side note, I did that activity, so I had a little leg up. That's why we didn't have to sit down. I was already experienced with that. But we do the same thing. So it's really interesting to see it on a student level versus for, us in the education field.
So you already knew how to count to 3.
I did. I'm starting to.
Hey, at least you got 3.
I was in the advanced class.
Okay, good.
So how did you guys do on the 1, 2, 3 activity? Did
was
you all
rocky at
pass? Did you all?
I got really bad.
First it was hard, but
Well, so what they made us do when we did it at first, they made us pair up with someone we'd never met before. And they would at random times when he was talking, he'd be like, okay, everyone get up and sit with a new person at a new table. And you couldn't sit with anyone at the same table. So it made it really difficult because it's easier when you have the chemistry with someone to do it. But it was very difficult doing it with someone you've never talked to before.
Well, think about that though in terms of leadership. When you're a leader within your setting, right? It's a little bit easier because you do have the connection with people. But think about as you get older and you get a new job and you're then all of a sudden forced in a spot where you're around people that you have never been with before. So that is a small kind of example of what real life is when you work with adults as an adult. See, that was really good. And Cohen, you had said something that that I want to stress a little bit, that Mr. Bailey did come to us and he heard a little bit about our presentation up front and is super excited about a student leadership council. They are leaders at Goshen High School within the setting with students as student council members. But I think there's a lot of value in having student voice talking to adults, because it's been a little while since we were in high school, and what we think high school is about and what's important to high school students may look very different than it did in 1993 when I was a senior, right? So I think that's an important part for your voice to be involved in the conversation. And that's something that's going to come down the road from that. You didn't know when you signed up for this that was going to come, but I think that's a really neat opportunity that you could also put on a resume as you're applying for college or jobs after the fact. I think that's a win-win situation for you.
I know I shared with them, it was really neat to go over and see them interacting with 15 different districts. And even Mrs. Gadio with the different liaisons were there. But as I came back and met with them, I let them in, talked to them a little bit about my goal setting with you guys and having a goal of communication with students. And I love it when a good plan comes together, because this is that next step of us building a little bit of a superintendent leadership council that will then mentor. We're going to get some 6th, 7th, and 8th graders involved, get some voice, and start these conversations. I think we'll use your game right away with the middle school kids.
I
Lead
is
them through
actually
that.
getting a middle school group together in the spring.
So
It'll be really good too.
it'll be, I'm anxious to see where it goes, because just, interacting with them, we get to interact from our level at times, but not as in depth as this will be. So I'm excited about it. It's a good group of kids that represented us very well. Tom Burton, the director of that, did come up and say, "You've got great kids." I don't think he said that to everybody, but you guys stood out, that's for sure. So thank you for representing us very well.
So you guys, I'm gonna have you sit for just a few more minutes. I have a couple more things that I want to talk about real quick, and then we're gonna let you get out of here ASAP. Kind of a way for me to go ahead and generalize this into just what we do at a high school level. Everything that a student does at high school, you're hoping that they're going to have some kind of experience as a leader. And I started to, of course, we always think about the portrait of a graduate. And when you think about each of those pieces of the pie, leadership skills, like those are components that you want to have all of our students walking away with as a leader. But I went in and I tried to pull out just at the top of my head, things that we do here at Goshen High School. We're thinking about classroom integration. Well, every day we're trying to think about collaborative group work or utilizing project-based learning. That's a great way to be able to have students step up in a role and be able to share some of those skills that you guys shared a little bit earlier. The High Ames Conference, that's exactly what we're talking about. Our Spalding, or our elementary touch a truck activity, our kids went over and were leaders and role models for students. And again, it's giving them another opportunity to be in front of somebody, to be seen and perceived as a leader. Junior achievement, teaching those elementary kiddos lessons. Again, another opportunity for our students. Student Council, National Honor Society, Sources of Strength, which is a new program that we're starting here that talks a little bit about acceptance, mental health components, taking care of each other, being good friends and looking out for others that may be struggling. Any student or an athlete, mentorship with our youth athletes. And I think about our summertime and our camps that we have where the baby athletes are with our high school athletes, and that is another opportunity. Our CAP program that we have and our students that are looking at working in the field of the trades. And we had some girls go to Women in IT this past week also. And again, it's just putting them in opportunities where they're learning to be a leader. On the other side of this, when we're thinking about graduation requirements, but there's not necessarily a graduation requirement that says you must be a leader, but in looking at graduation requirements, we need 12 hours of community service. And what a better way to be able to show that you're a leader and helping support others in our community as participating in that. And student engagement, as you guys were talking about getting students out and engaged and involved with pieces, well, you get a seal on your diploma if you have 3 different seasons of being involved in some type of engagement activity. So again, your goal directly impacts the seals that students get as far as a pathway for graduation. So that is excellent. I wanted to go ahead and showcase, and again, I know that as a board, you have seen this before, but when we think about students that perhaps are not going the college pathway, and they may be going into the trades after high school, there is something called an Ohio Means Jobs seal that our students can get for having mentors that are going to say that they have demonstrated these 14 skills and work or have experiences equating to 250 hours. And I wanted to pull this up because these skills that are on here, there is one that specifically is leadership. And I think that was great to be able to pinpoint. But when you're going through and looking at this, having oral and written communication, being able to be reliable, work ethic, punctuality, discipline, collaboration, professionalism. Again, you're seeing a commonality of all of those skills are leadership-based skills. And whether we're planning on going to college, whether we're planning to go into the military or planning to go into the trades, all of these leadership skills that you guys were talking about today and that we're trying to embed into our daily just routine of being at Goshen High School is super valuable. So for me, I went back and I thought about what is a GHS leader? Well, again, all of those kiddos that graduated last year, they got there through some pathway. They were able to be in several different experiences. And again, that's going back and taking a look at our pieces of the portrait of a graduate. Oh my goodness, if you're a leader, you're adaptable. If you're a leader, you're a lifelong learner and you're showing that to other people. If kids are watching you learning and getting better, my goodness, I want to be like you because you're a leader. Effective communicators, collaboration and teamwork. Again, leadership skills, fearless learners, problem solvers, being creative, a critical thinker, and socially responsible, having empathy, having a good character. I want all of our kids to look at you and say, that's how I want to be. And you guys are perfect for that. So that is just kind of wrapping it all together. I want everybody to be here. I want them to walk across the stage. I want them to have a plan for whatever it is after high school, but I want them to be good people. And I want them to be able to walk out of here and be a Goshen graduate where people are saying they're from Goshen and they've got it going on because they have got these leadership skills that come in. We're prepping them to go do good things in our world and in our community. So that was a lot. They were way more fun than I was, but I was trying to be able to pull it back together. And I just really wanted to showcase also the importance of our Ohio Means job in that sometimes we look at that as kiddos that may not be going to college, and it's really looking at a trade venue, but we're really thinking about every student needs to walk out of Goshen High School. Every student's gonna walk out of Goshen High School with an Ohio Means job there because it's just good stuff, good traits that we want our students to have. Look at that. You don't have your cell phone on at school and it's going on in the evening? My goodness. So I'm just playing with you. It's good. It's good. Do you guys have questions?
Yeah,
Parents, darn them.
I think it's special that in this community where we can do that and kids, even the younger ones, because we've got junior coaches this year on our football teams. And the younger kids absolutely just love when, a middle school or high school comes over for practice and, they get to hit them with their pads on and the older kids don't have pads on. And so, but it's neat to have those types of programs.
Thank you for coming tonight and sharing your experience with us. And I challenge you to take that home and challenge everybody in your household to do the 1, 2, 3.
Oh, all right, then.
Video how to do it.
All right, I'll send you it.
Please.
Be the new TikTok trend.
Yeah.
Tag 1, 2, 3.
All right, Dad.
Just out of a token of appreciation from the board, we've got a certificate and a pen for going above and beyond. So I just want you to come up real quick when I call your name. If you brought somebody with you, which it looks like 2 are going to be calling their parents out, you say who you brought with you.
Yeah.
All right. Carly Campbell. Who'd you bring with you?
My dad.
Come on back up. Who'd you bring with you?
He needs to get a picture. Yeah, let him be a dad.
Yeah, say who.
This is for mom.
Yeah.
Carly brought her dad with her tonight.
Yeah.
Gunnar Connor. Thank you, sir. Nice handshake.
Thanks.
It's a good one. I do want to talk to you later about something else I'm thinking about for you too. Got an idea. Bring him back with you. No.
I don't know.
That was mom was on the phone.
That's why they're calling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad.
Mom on the phone.
No. Oop, got it. Lauren Gray.
bring with you tonight?
Yeah, who'd you bring with you tonight?
My grandma, my dad, and then my mom was right.
I brought you that.
Cohen? So, thanks, Mom.
Cohen, what program are you in?
IT.
When his picture went off, yeah.
And then I do want to thank the leader of the high school. Come on up, Mrs. Walker.
Thank you.
All right.
Didn't bring anybody with you?
I forgot I'm at home. Yep, I brought 6 kids with me. They're the best.
So you can you're welcome to stay for the remaining of the meeting, or you're also welcome to exit at this time if you're not quite interested in the rest.
Guys, there is no
Have to say-
political pressure for you to stay.
I'm being forced.
Great job, guys.
Thank you. It's a good
Thanks,
experience.
thanks.
Yes, it is. It's a very good experience. Girls,
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Come on.
Okay. All right.
Good job. Gunner, great job. Keep up that personality. I like
Oh, well,
Scherzinger, you have a share the local.
Just a
Okay.
brief update. I know you guys have seen our report card. We're once again a 4.5 star school district. Very excited about that. Super close to 5, but we're still chasing it. District report card, if you can see our breakdown there of scores. The district overall earned a 4.5. Mark Hook's a 4-star elementary. Mark Hook gets their score from chronic absenteeism. So because we had less than 10% of students on REMPs again this year, they won't be getting the literacy score. So all of their stars comes from their students coming to school. So it's definitely a focus, obviously at all buildings, but more so at Mark Hook because that's where their stars come from. Spalding is a 3.5 star building. They have 4 components where they get scores: achievement, early literacy, gap closing, and progress. And so overall, 3.5 stars for Spalding. Middle school has 3 components. They're 4 stars, 4 stars in achievement, 3 stars in progress, 4 stars in gap closing. And then our high school is a 4.5 star overall. They have 4 indicators. They have achievement, progress, gap closing, and graduation rate. The interesting thing about progress is that your progress score, which is value added, has changed names 3 or 4 times. It'll stay with you for 3 years. So some of the scores for progress is impacted by 2 years ago, value added. So that's something that we continually work on and focus on. So obviously our celebrations are that we're a 4.5 star district, overall great performance by our students and teachers. We do, of course, have an action plan. We always get that data back and say, what can we do better? And we talked about each building's created a report card plan for attacking areas where we found some deficits. We're continuing to refine our interventions at the buildings. I will have to say having Kelsey and Danielle has been invaluable for that early literacy score and for our data. You can definitely see their impact in a positive way. Our district leadership team and directors meetings focus on data. We're constantly looking at what are our students doing now, how's it looking, what are our areas that we need to be working on or reteaching. And then I'm taking some administrators to a growth training in November where we really learn how to dig into that data. Right now we just have general overview. We don't know individual teacher level reports or anything like that. So that comes out in about a week and a half. And then we'll have more conversations with teachers about their pacing and things like that of that nature. So overall, very pleased with our 4.5 score again.
Can you share just what each building, like what's prevented, like the lowest score as far as each building and what we're working towards for each building?
Sure. So like, if I go to Mark Cook, they only have one indicator, and that's from progress or from student attendance.
Okay.
So obviously, student attendance is something that we're going to focus on at Mark Cook a lot, with a caveat that they don't have an early literacy because we had less than 10% of students on REMPs. So obviously, early literacy is still a focus there, even though their score isn't showing because of that.
So
reason.
the REM piece is that reading improvement plan that our preschool and kindergarten teachers, and I would say parents at home, reading to kids early, working with kids early, they're not coming in behind, so we don't have enough kids on that early plan. That's what keeps us from, so that's not a bad rating
Just
not to
good.
have, it's a
Yes,
good
it's great
rating
not
not
to
to
have,
have. So we're really, I mean, when you look at Mark Cook, it's, you know, if there was chronic absenteeism there of 20%, they'll have a goal to get to 17. I won't quote the number, but it's to decrease that as much as possible to try to get to that 5-star.
Spalding, I would say our area that we're focusing on there is the progress component, which is growth. So I think a lot of what we're looking at Spalding is pre-pandemic. Now those students are moving beyond, right? Students out at Spalding didn't get really impacted as much by COVID. So we're looking at, do we make a lot of changes based on students who had gaps? And maybe we need to go back to the way it was before we had COVID. So we're doing a lot of work there on pacing guides and common assessments to make sure that we are moving through the material a little more quickly than we did before.
I will say,
That sticks,
go ahead.
yeah, that sticks with them for
3 years.
3 years. But I mean, it'll be, the data from this year will be 2 more years, but then they have new data every year also. So when you look at that measure, it's so confusing. The current year is 50% of it. The year before that's 25%. The 2 years before that is 25%. So eventually it rolls off. But that is, you know, something to stick around for a while.
I think when you look at Spalding, the middle school and even the high school, and you've got so many different components, if you start to really, really focus on one, you have the opportunity to dip a little bit in the other. And I think that's where Teresa and her team, with this, you know, with the plans they've created at each building, it is a focus on achievement and raising the performance index, bumping kids up, which should bump the progress. The gap closing in each building obviously is the attendance piece, but then also that gets in the special education population, and then the early literacy that's evolving. So you know, they're focusing on so many different targets. And I know that team is doing a great job, and it's frustrating at times on one of those dips because you're trying to hit all of them. But it's a great group of teachers back there, and they're going to continue to plug at it because nobody wants to see that. They don't, we don't, and they're working hard at it. So, but when you get data back in October, close to November from last year, we were kind of anticipating a little bit, making some assumptions. So there were plans in place for that. Right now, in some of these spots, you're having to stop and say, okay, what can we change that's not going to impact upset the whole cart, but we've got to focus on an area a little bit more intently. So,
And sometimes is it true, like if you have some students doing really good, there's like less of a gap to close, right? So sometimes you're almost penalized.
all kids can grow, but that
Right,
growth
there's
gets
less
little
of a
smaller,
gap.
right?
Less opportunity
Yeah.
for growth, for sure. At the middle school, I would say progress there also, with the caveat that their lowest year in growth will fall off next year. So they had a really great growth year last year, and that's going to stick around for 2 more years. They would have been probably a 4-star just based on 1 year of data, but because they keep 3 years of data, they were a 3-star. But I'm very confident that once that rolls off, they're going to probably, I would say, be a 4-star in progress as well. And then the high school, doing really well. The only thing that we're, obviously keeping an eye on is that college career readiness, workforce, military readiness area, just because we haven't gotten a score yet. And so I know Mr. Dubs and Stephanie are all over that, digging into that data. I think we would probably be, what did we say?
Well, they haven't really come out with any kind of rating
Predictor.
scale of what the stars would be, but all that data runs in the rear. So if you opened up the grade card and went into that component, it would put us at 72.1% of our kids met that particular that standard, but that's really from a year ago. And for the class we just had, What we're calculating is that we'll be up to 83%, that particular class. So we've got a nice jump coming in. And then our goal for this year, and that's why Stephanie spent a lot of time really talking about the OMJ readiness seal, because we've kind of really targeted that as a key part of that component. But we want to be 90 plus. There's really no reason with this particular senior class we shouldn't be at 90 plus.
They will
So
say,
just-
go ahead.
So just in a short amount of time, you can see we've made some big jumps, but a lot of it has to do with us having a better understanding of what the metric is. I mean,
It's supposed to be
really didn't
scored
know.
this
It's kind
year.
of
But like Missy went to an EMIS training where she imports all this data. And they said, if you notice anything that you think is wrong, you can tell us, but we don't really know what to do about it. So it's this big circle of, okay, so where are we getting the data from? How's it reported? And a lot of it is just making sure we're reporting it properly, but they don't even know exactly how to fix what's been reported. So we're working on that area. But if I were going to pick something for the high school, that's what I would pick as the one that we're focused on, just because it's so unknown.
So do we know what other districts are?
What they look like?
Yeah, compared to ours.
We do.
That's-
We look really
at the highest.
Yeah,
Right.
great.
college and career, yeah. I'm involved in a lot of college and career readiness stuff, even for my professional role. And I would say Goshen is extremely elite compared to most other schools go from a county perspective, like what the county services are. And they don't have individual programs within their home district like we do, and as robust as we do.
I feel pretty confident in that area that we're doing all the right things.
Yeah.
Just making sure that we're reporting it properly and knowing the game that we're trying to play with the rules, right? What are the rules? They're gonna hopefully get those to us soon.
I know it seems small, but starting at this kindergarten level, I wish it was scored on there of what we do to
Yeah.
talk about career, talk about interests, talk about just getting kids thinking about it. It's not, it's on a graduating class. We hope that as you progress through it, you have that knowledge once you get there to the high school to kind of have the right path and have we call it the end game, kind of rubber meets the road. When the rubber hits the road, it keeps going. And that's the plan.
I know it's not scored, but I'm really proud that we do it across the board, and we start at the kindergarten level talking about different careers.
Me too.
So Teresa, why do they look at 3 years? And
A value added?
yeah, a value added. And then how does that compare to other districts that might not have like a primary school, an intermediate, middle, and then high school, like the traditional K through 6 or K through 5 school?
Well, it's interesting.
Do they,
Value added starts in grade 4 and goes all the way up through high school. So really the breakdown of buildings is a little different. We did look at that too to see, maybe it was an elementary issue. We always look at that too to say, is the breakdown of our building grade level configuration different than the other buildings, and is that impacting? So we did look at that as well. But it does start in grade 4 and it moves on up. And why they do 3 years, from what ODE says, it's because anyone could have a bad year and they don't want to penalize someone for a bad year, but then they're kind of penalizing us for 3 years for a bad year. So it's only 25%, but they said, if we only gave you that measure based on 1 year, it might really harm your report card. So we're doing it on an average of 3 years.
so in other districts that might have that traditional K through 5 school, they're getting a report card for those 5, 6 grades at one time versus us that has the 2 buildings.
Yes.
They do it building by building then.
Yeah.
At a state level,
Set up,
Yeah.
not at a grade spectrum level.
And it's interesting
Okay.
you say that, because if we were a K through 5 elementary and Mark Hook's kindergarten was less than 10% of REMS, our early literacy would look different too.
Right.
Because we wouldn't have the measure be based on passage of 3rd grade test versus
Yes.
REMS.
Yes.
Yeah, so it really is interesting
That's
when you
what
start comparing,
Yeah.
like, is it building pre-K through 2? Is it K through 5? Is it, a lot of like Williamsburg is 6 through 12. So it's interesting to see how that impacts our report card too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that does come into play.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? Awesome. Thank you.
Right, moving on to agenda item 8A, old business facilities update. Mr. Bailey?
All right. I know as we've talked over the last couple months and during some of my goal session, kind of discharged me with that ability to kind of put together a master facilities plan process. And I'm going to walk through this tonight. Essentially at the end of this, you guys, I shared a resolution with you for us to proceed with solicitation of professional design services to undertake a master facilities master planning services. So I'm going to go through what this looks like because I want you to be in the know of the whole process. And again, you know, it's no secret that we are preparing for the growth that's coming at us. That's not stopping. I'm still trying to get an understanding. I put one on there, Woodall Crossing off of Short 48. That's down. They're clearing it. I'm not sure if that's the second phase of Barclay and it's just under a new name or what that is because they're still working through some zoning pieces, but you've got another subdivision going in there. And I know that Barclay has already started on a second side and there's room as you go back in that neighborhood. So trying to understand that and then possibly hearing rumors of a phase 2 on Lakefield on 132. So just in the short time, I think there's been some inquiries about those pieces of land. So what that is, don't know yet, but we're going to continue to grow. There's no secret there. And then just the other ones that we've talked about are on there. So I am a visual person, and I put this visual on your table to kind of, as I write this out, and I'll show you what we wrote in the RFQ, but really this is what it is. The next steps are to engage our community on ideas and input on the future of our schools. And I think, you know, nothing to what we've done in the past. I think we were preparing and I think it was proactive. I think we did take community input back in 2018-19, but that was a long time ago and a lot has changed. So it's not really so much about how many classrooms we want. It's more about what do we want out of education? And then we can figure out what this master facilities plan looks like. So we need to engage our community. We need to engage our staff. We need to engage our students that were here. It's going to be a piece of that student leadership piece of how do we get student voice in it and what they need for the future of education, as well as our staff and other community members. We're also then going to assess our current facilities, every property on our campus that are related to the school district. What, you know, how do they stand? Are they in good standing? From a facility standpoint, we'll look at enrollment studies that are coming in. We'll then also, you know, look at site plans of each building from a bigger visual. And then we'll identify some long-range planning challenges and opportunities. Developing a financial projection in the end that goes along with what this master facilities plan would be. And then really creating a living document that we work off of that by the time it comes to needing a bond issue, there's no secret of what the plan is and how we got to it. So with that being said, I'm going to walk you through what the RFQ says so that you understand a little bit more in detail. So this will go out once you guys pass the resolution tonight. We will be sending this out to different firms to get qualifications from facilities master planners under this scope of work. We want them to assess our current facilities. So the educational capacity, current utilization, are we using our buildings correctly? Should we be doing something different? The quality of our facilities, including our athletic facilities, taking a look at, you know, now and into the future, do all our facilities meet the kids' needs? Not just athletics, but also extracurricular will be in that. Campus traffic study to include safety recommendations for pedestrian, vehicle, and bus travel, and then also safety and accessibility. From a safety standpoint, are we up to date? From a security standpoint, and then also from an ADA compliance standpoint, do they see any things there? And that's of our current facilities, taking a look at them, because before we say, you know, it's smart to add on here or there, we really need to know, is it smart to add on here or there at this point? The second one will be an analysis of our school-age population, which would be an enrollment study and demographic projections. The next piece that we're asking, you know, for qualifications on is visioning. Developing community engagement tools, opportunities to gather additional feedback needed to generate priority factors and primary facility options. So really this is talking to our community. This is talking to school families, students, staff, administrators, you guys. Obviously, we will be there to support this and be a part of it. But we really just want to hear from people. What do they want out of the future of education? Not just classroom A, classroom B. What do we want Goshen to look like as we move into the future? Then after all of that work's done, which this is a process, this is not a 2-month process, this will take a while. We will then break down with probably the same groups of people and look at master facility options based on what we hear, based on enrollment studies, based on our current building usage, based on the current, capacity of those buildings, the assessment of those buildings. Here's what we think. They're going to develop recommendations for us that we can then walk through with the community, and then ultimately in the end, the board to make a decision using all of that feedback to come up with how do we move forward for the growth coming out of this. With that said, this is the schedule and kind of the timeline of how this process will go. Tomorrow, we will put that RFQ out. So we will email it, we will post it. And I'll show you the posting here in a minute. It'll go in the paper, it'll be on our webpage, it'll go out to some firms. They'll have a deadline to submit their qualifications by November 8th at noon. We will then, I'll walk you through a process. There's a ranking process, and then there's an opportunity to interview those firms. We would do that probably around November 18th to the 22nd is kind of our goal, with then the target date for board approval of a resolution to negotiate with the top choice at the December 9th meeting. So let me walk you through, because that was a lot. 3 steps we have to take when we go out to look for professional design services. One is a public announcement. The public announcement, again, we're able to email that out to different firms that we know may be interested, news media, send it to the different papers. It'll be on our website. That is it. I'm not going to read it for you, but essentially it says what I said. If you want to see the qualifications, you can email Troy Smith. He will email you the RFQ. That's really for the paper, because there's really no way to put a 16-page document in a paper. So they can email to get those. But it does have to be turned in by November 8th. So once we get firms interested, essentially there's a scoring rubric that we use to rate the responses. A lot of questions. You guys had it in your packet, and I put it on your table. You can see all the things they have to present qualifications on. It's a long list that they need to be able to tell us they're qualified for this or not. We will then look at those and rank order those. And then the evaluation process. And, Todd and I have talked, and Teresa, about this quite a bit. I really feel like an interview process will be needed. So our current committee, and the way we thought about this, is it will be myself, Todd, Teresa, Pat, Troy, either Bill or Melissa from the facilities committee, and then an outside consultant that we will use that we've worked with in the past. So I would just need, Bill and Melissa to kind of talk to me when we get to that process, and who wants to sit on that. Essentially, once the most highly qualified firm is chosen, you guys then as a board will adopt a resolution that authorizes Todd and I to enter into negotiations regarding the scope of services. And that really then gets into the price with those firms as far as, is it an a la carte piece? Is it, we feel like you guys are going to do a great job on this. This is the route we want to go with it. So we would then negotiate with them on price for this complete master facilities process. If, in the end, as we go through negotiations with those reps, obviously we're working to agree on compensation, which is fair and reasonable, and taking into account the estimated value, scope, and complexity of the nature of services. If, and I'm just putting this in there, if we were to choose the top and not be able to get to the point where we could negotiate a contract agreement, we would then inform that firm in writing of the termination of negotiations, and the board would re-enter negotiations with the next most qualified firm. So we'll be taking a look at this very thoroughly as we get to choosing a firm to complete this. So that is a long process. I hope I laid it out. I didn't want to just say, here's an RFQ, pass, we're just going to pass a resolution for it. I really do feel like if you go back just to that picture that I put on your desk, and again, I'm a visual person, it's really getting input from a lot of folks. A lot of, before we're looking at a ballot issue in the future, that we've got at least ownership from our community, from our staff, from parents, not just, us as a Board of Education and Facilities Committee. And I thought that was a problem in the past, but I really feel like people need to know why we're doing this. It's not just we're growing by 1,200 homes. It's here's what we want education to be for the students of Goshen in the future. And it's a long way to get there. This is probably, January through January of next year process, maybe a little longer. This isn't short. You're going to take some time to develop surveys and work with the community and get people in here to have conversations. I'm going to use that student group on how to get parents and community members engaged.
Yes.
But questions on it?
I have a couple questions.
Okay.
So when was the last time we had the master facilities plan?
Bill, there is a document in my office that I'm not sure how it was got to, but it was essentially you could add buildings here and here on the current campus. I don't know if it was a why would you do that?
Yeah.
So it was more of if you plan and if you're going to add, here's where you can add it.
So last time we did it, what is
Probably in
scope is that?
correct.
Yeah.
And now in 2018, we did some of this.
Yeah.
Not as big. We did some. We had a facilities committee. We had some groups of teachers, administrators. We kind of talked through some of this, but it wasn't really down to the big picture of what do we want from education.
We didn't bring in outside experts to say, how do we get to the community? We've obviously tried this quite a few times. There's people out there that we're not getting to.
It was not as extensive, yes. I don't, and I think that's the big piece is.
So now
we can only ask.
Right.
That's the side. You can only ask for engagement. Hopefully we can drive it a little bit, but.
So what, like these firms that we send this out to, are these all like registered with the state? How, so there's a list of these firms?
I think there's a list of yes, and talking to other districts that have been through this. We will be putting it out to, there is one, well, and I'm not going to kind of dig it. Yes, there is a good list, but then there's also a construction network that feeds some of these.
We talked about some with the Oaks because they go off the list. I can't remember what that was.
There's quite a few, and I think in the past, obviously we've worked with Elevar and they've done a nice job. I'm sure they're interested too, but I think we really just need to see when you go back to looking at all those things that we want to do. We just want to make sure that we get the right group that has the right supports that can do all the things.
Right, and some of these groups too. We've had great partners over the years.
Yep.
But maybe we've all kind of got a little bit of, we're so focused on that, we've kind of developed tunnel vision, right?
I think
why
that's,
maybe they can.
I think this is the reboot a little
coming
bit.
from fresh set of eyes.
Yes.
We are definitely in a very different spot than we were in 2018.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons.
We were projecting a lot then. These things are coming out of the ground, and I think obviously the community's seeing that piece of it. But again, this needs to be a community plan.
Yes.
This needs to be everybody, right, wrong, or indifferent. We obviously know how this has to be paid for, and we'll look at pieces of that. But we really need to know what the community wants out of this. And I think this will get there. But also, taking into consideration, I went through that slide several times last year, the age of our buildings. And we need somebody to come in and really take a hard look and say, you can add on, but is that the best? I don't, it was the best at that time. And yeah, we can add on, but that plan would have worked. It would have been the cheapest and it would have got us that 10 years or so that we were looking at. But ultimately, if we go that route, does it make sense? With new construction costs versus renovation to HVAC and all the pieces that we have.
No, at Capitol Conference too, that's an opportunity too, with different sessions where they've they've worked with the community and it's maybe I don't know you guys there's discussion because they
have some others at the trade show.
Yeah.
What's the initial cost and when does it start? How does
that's the negotiation side. I think, I think there's probably a range in there. And from that side, but obviously when we come back in December, we probably will go to executive just because we're going to be talking about negotiation of a contract and prices at that time. It won't be a secret when we do it, but I think before I say what we're thinking about, I don't want to put that out there. So I think that's
No cost until we.
Correct. Yep.
I think personally, this is the right direction
Oh,
to
yeah.
move in. I think it's beyond our expertise and your
Yes.
expertise in education. So I think this is the right direction to move in.
So you had the resolution in your packet to authorize the solicitation of professional, say that 3 times fast, professional design services. So yes, I would need.
So do we have a motion to move forward with the resolution presented by Mr. Bailey?
So moved.
Second.
Just discussion? Mr. Schinkel, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Markey,
Yes.
Mrs. Paprocki,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Mrs. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. West.
Yes.
Right, thank you. Moving on, new business, A, Mrs. Scherzinger, do we have any public participation? I was trying to go really slow.
I know, thank
Let you
you.
get back to it. All right, moving on, new business 9, treasurer's report. Mr. Schinkel?
Okay. We've hit our first quarter. It's hard to believe it, man. We're already 25% done, but this is our fiscal year to date. For our general fund, we started off the year with the 15,173, and so far we've brought in 11.9 million, almost $12 million. Our expenditures there, you can see, is 9 million. And so right now we're up to 18 million on our general fund. So we're up 2.9 million so far this year. You can see here on the percent there, our annual budget, we brought in 31%, and the month completed there, of course, is 25 because of our quarter. So our revenue received, it shows that 12 million out of 39 million. So that our budgeted revenue remaining is $27 million. So we're kind of at the point now where a lot of things you almost count on roughly $3 million in receipts and disbursements is kind of how we track. And so seeing that trend, we look pretty good right there. So our revenue year to date, and this is compared to last year. So for fiscal year 24, we brought in $10.7 million. This year, we're up to 11.9. So as you can see, our increase is $1.1 million over last year for this quarter, which is 11%. The next one over here, the year-to-date change. So where did that money come from? For mostly, and it's our local sources, which is our local taxes. I mean, no surprise there that our real estate tax number went skyrocketing up, 39%, which for our local sources is almost $1 million out of that 1.1 million. And then our state revenue dollars, where that's kind of coming from us, we're down a little bit than our federal. But that's basically where we're at for this first quarter. And as you can see, when I was talking about like the 3 billion and 3 million that you can calculate, we've brought in our expenditures is 24% so far. And of course, on the quarter, and then for September, our expenditures through September is the 9 million. So that's where I kind of say like the 3 million per month on average is kind of ballpark where we're at. And the remaining is 27. Oh, you're right. You're right. That's fine. So here we're comparing our expenditures year to date. So we at this time last year for fiscal year 24, we spent $8.5 million. We're now up to $9 million. And if you look at the expenditures are up 432,000 compared to last year. Year over change average is 5%. Basically, 5% is just our increase in inflationary costs is going up. And you can see where that trickles in. I mean, our salaries and benefits went up where everyone moved on the new pay scale. Purchase services, our new contract amount, and then all others, basically our textbooks, material supplies that we bring in. So right now, how we're kind of tracking your prior year, which is our ending balance, there's the 15,173. We're projecting to be 15.9 However, like with what's going on so far in our formula and everything, we are projecting that this will go up $750,000, and that's 152 days of cash on hand. So we're basically good for 5 months, is where we're at with our general fund dollars. And then this last slide here, it's kind of tracking how our system is projecting us out, where we're showing the 15.9. The trend is really that we're going to be estimate that a favorable trend will be another $1 million on top. So we're even better than what we're actually seeing right now, trending, but a lot of stuff can happen. We just now put in our October count. We're going to see what our CEP dollars, our DPIA dollars. So there's a lot of unknowns to really tie that in, but that's where we're tracking at right now. I know I kind of went over that real quick. I don't know if anyone's got questions on that.
So our expenditures, you say they average 3 million a month?
It's ballpark that. I mean, it's slightly more. I mean, like when we go through, when we pay, for example, all of our coaches, you know, we do separate pays for coaches quarterly, and then we do department chairs and that sort of thing. So those quarters, we do those type of things going. But like our bus service, we pay 12 months, and you know, of course, we take everyone's pay, set over 24 pays twice a month. So we're kind of setting that trend right there.
So no quarter is a bigger hitter than any other quarter.
Well, I mean, I would think that when we pay those, when we're paying like our coaches' salaries and that sort of thing, those are jumps. I mean, not huge jumps, but I mean, you know, we got like this fall, we have a lot of coaches. So I mean, there is some expense on that.
I didn't know if there was greater expenses like beginning of the year.
No.
Truckloads of paper to stock up for the year or whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, we do buy, you know, a lot of our supplies, and that's, you know, going through, usually on technology, you know, we market like where we're going to be with technology, and then usually I meet with Teresa, like how much do we need, or, you know, they're going through like when the standards come out, like what do we need to work on? They're trying to find the right text to go with it. And so sometimes we find it, and sometimes we're like, man, we don't want to spend the dollars on that because we want to do it next year. But when we do get, you know, a new series of texts, I mean, those are significant dollars. Those are not, you know, cheap to do. Same thing with technology. If we replace a whole set of Chromebooks or that sort of thing, it's big dollars.
You have that in the forecast as well. I mean, do you have that kind of figured in it? Textbooks are going to last this long, and then that.
I mean, I have it trending in our expenditures, because really, like the 5-year forecast, we really focus truly on this year, like we're fiscal year 25, and then the rest we kind of trend out. You know, are we looking at the 3% increase in our bus service and 2%, and we put that in there, and then when we come into contract time, you know, we really nail it down. But that's where, when you guys approved our contract with Alpha Omega for the cleaning, our contract for Peterman for the next 5 years of bus, it helps so much, because then it's not, you know, we're not guessing, you know, with the percentage increase, we're really putting those numbers in there. Like if we know it's going to be 1% on the buses, that's what we put. So, which is, you know, it's huge. Now we're running 30 routes. I mean, it's like $90,000 per bus route. So $2.7 million. You know, you got a 2% increase, or the next year's a 1%. I mean, that's great to know, because that's a big number, you know, the impact on there.
I will say I'm a broken record. You probably can guess what I'm going to say. You heard it at Fall Southwest Conference that in lame duck, they're still looking at property tax reform of some point. That'll have an impact if they choose to do something with it. And I think you saw on the one slide, more local, less state.
Yeah.
Is the way the funding formula is set up. And they are talking heavily at the state, and that revenues are down. There was supposed to be an increase in state funding for education. They're saying during the budget season, there'll be a lot of back and forth on that and what that looks like, as far as, do they fully fund year 5 and 6 of the fair school funding? Do they have the revenue to do it? Are revenues going elsewhere? Which I think those are the pieces that, you know, we'll continue to advocate on your behalf, and I will actually eventually to advocate as well with our legislators if we see something that is going one way or the other. Continue to have those conversations with obviously my association and Mr. Shinkles, working with legislators and lobbyists up there, pleading our points. So,
And she recommended at the Southwest Board Conference that we have opportunities to get our local legislators in the building, show them the stuff that we're doing.
Yep.
let them talk to that group
Yeah,
of
that'd be a good group.
student leaders and show them a lot of the stuff that we're doing, even outside the classroom.
Absolutely.
With college and career readiness, I think is going to be so important because she very much hit on the highlight that they're looking at the state budget and how to adjust it because of the local tax increase.
Yep. Well, and there's one more or a quarter more of the counties go through that this year, I think, which is the final circle. So let's see if they let the circle close or if they do something before it. I don't know.
You just got to watch that closely.
Yeah, it's huge, and you know, just to throw another little rock in the pond here and spin another wave is that, you know, we're on CEP this year with our free, we're giving everyone free breakfast, free lunch. And so how all the districts that are now in that, because this was really new for a lot, is that we mark every student in there. They have us in our EMIS, mark every student as DPIA. So then everyone's DPIA pot is coming up. So far, there's only this bucket of cash that's to fund the DPIA. So then when everyone gets into it, other districts are losing money. I mean, so it's where we're gaining because we're marking every one of those kids in that capacity. So what are they going to do to the districts that are not getting additional dollars? So, I mean, it's really some significant.
Shocking.
Yeah, I mean, there's really some major things on there to impact our budget. So it's, I mean, right now, I'm not trying to say anything good, bad, or ugly. I mean, we are projecting, you know, like I've seen there, you see in pretty good shape, but I mean, they can change something really quick, which could really have some significant impact on that. So 152 days can get down pretty fast if we're not too
There's
careful. So I
a
hate saying
letter
that.
we can sign or some stuff that we need to do. Just
We will
make
make
sure
sure
keep
that,
us informed.
And just a couple things that were outside the norm is like our expenditures for MCOR, where we're updating our controls. And we did have some of the roof repairs out here from Garland. So that was a couple little things that we had to kind of, you know, address your questions like this, the norm. So there's a couple of things basically from the summer on that one. So is there any question? I know I rolled through that fairly quick. I just want to make sure you guys kind of got a feel for what.
The MCOR work's completed.
No, that's actually being phased in. We got another year. or two
Probably
to
next
get-
December to finish it all.
Yeah,
For
just so
for
that,
all the building. I mean, but some of the buildings are like spalding finish.
They've run the wiring, so they'll start, I think Christmas break is when they're gonna start putting some of the.
they're going to
get
quality. Yeah, I think it's their first one.
Gadgets in the ceiling is all I could say.
It's a major, you know, undertaking there. But I think that's the thing too, just to kind of put out there, like when we're looking at the buildings and stuff, is like, you know, on down the road, is that something we should keep doing or should we look at a new building? You know, I mean, like when Mr. Bailey was talking about all these type things that we just have discussion that you add on to a school building that's 80 years old. That makes it, those are decisions that, you know, we'd like to maybe get a little more information on.
Are there any big spends or big asks coming from anybody that we would need to budget for or potentially pay out? That you can-
Well, I mean, I think obviously we'll be talking down the road here with negotiations with GEA and GESSP this year, so we will be, that's definitely a piece that, it's the biggest piece that will be coming probably December, January to have those conversations with you guys about that.
We're working through a curriculum adoption for K through 2 literacy, but we're still working through it. So it probably wait till the end of the year.
Any big buys that we need that we're looking at, or teachers have asked for, coaches or anything?
Well, I mean, like next summer, we go down to do the rest of the blacktop in the parking lot, I think, and then the other part of MCOR. I mean, I think that's kind of the biggest ones. There's probably a couple sections of roof that we probably need to look at. But I mean,
We'll be updating that 3-year capital plan. We got year 1 done. We'll kind of year 2, 3, and we'll add a 4th year so that we're continuing. We'll start looking at that after the first of the year is my guess.
Yeah, there's usually a couple.
Yeah.
Any additional questions? All right, moving on to new business C, financials 1 through 6. Do we have a motion to approve new business C, financials 1 through 6?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Schenkel, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Paprocki?
Yes.
Mr. Rare?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mrs. Werke?
Yes.
Moving on, new business. Item D, personnel 1 through 5. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. Discussion related to new business D, personnel 1 through 5. Mr. Schenkel, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Rare?
Yes.
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mrs. Werke?
Yes.
Mrs. Paprocki?
Yes.
Agenda item 9, new business E, athletic personnel motions 1 through 4. Do we have a motion to approve?
Moved.
Second.
Discussion?
No, it looks like we have all the coaches we need for.
I think we're almost filled up. Teresa and Scott and Greg have done a great job of getting all our staff back in place and filling a few holes. Can't do it without those coaches. That's some great.
I have a question about one, but we had
Yes.
hired them earlier.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
All these, the coaches on this page here under supplemental, are those paid positions?
So the supplemental contracts are paid, and those steps out there are years of experience. So there's a years of experience bump of percentage. And then the resolution for non-certified, those are paid as well underneath the negotiated agreement for those positions. The stipends are yearly. Those are paid, but they're a yearly piece that we look at year to year to see if we need to continue if that program's going. And then volunteers are nothing.
Any further discussion? Mr. Schenkel, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. West?
Abstain?
Mrs. Werke?
Yes.
Mrs. Paprocki?
Yes.
Mr. Rare?
Yes.
Moving on, new business F, miscellaneous, items 1 and 2. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, I just want to thank our Goshen PTO for donating over $3,000 to support our schools.
I do want to just quickly cover this business advisory council plan. I want to thank Mr. Dubs.
Yeah.
I know that probably one of you guys will talk about the BAC, but this is an extensive plan, and it goes to that report card piece of why we're being so successful on that. It is part of our business, council plan that we present to the state in hopes that next year we hit a 4-star back there on the wall. That's the goal. If you remember, a lot of districts have gone into the large consortium, which we're in it, and it's great networking and it's a great opportunity. The work we did at the council meeting last week pushes us further ahead, but these are the real 3 focus areas inside a Pat's plan that then need 50 pages of documentation to say how we're going to get there.
81.
It was in your packet.
It's 81.
If you had time to read through it, kudos to you. But no, I mean, it's a lot of really, really good work.
It's great.
It's kudos to Pat, to our high school staff, to our teachers, to our counselors, all the way down to the elementary staff of what we're doing for that K-12 approach with this. But the 3 big ones are developing professional skills that will prepare students for the future. 2, building partnerships between business, labor, and educational personnel. And then 3, coordinating experiences that allow students to demonstrate proficiency in critical professional and specialized skills towards future employment. And there's a lot of ways we're going to get there. There's a lot of action steps. There's a lot of initiatives that go into that plan. I'll go on record if we don't get a 4-star or something wrong. That's fine. It's a lot of work, and I do appreciate Pat and his staff. You can quote me. Yeah. So just wanted to share it because that's a big one. So you know that. Sorry.
Yeah, that was great. Any further discussion?
I know there are more donations coming from PTO for other.
Additional?
Yes.
Wow.
So I might not have hit yet.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, there's some really good warrior walks and lots of money raised and a lot of fun to be had by the principals, it
I know
sounded
they've got
like.
some teacher grants as well that are coming that way, so it's
Yes.
huge, yeah.
Awesome. Mr. Schenkel, can you please call the roll?
Motions, I don't think you got a
We can
motion.
run.
You're all right.
No,
I talk a
you
lot.
did.
You're
You're good.
You did, I got the discussion and I talked. You're good.
You're good. I'm sorry.
Sorry, you did.
We did have a
Mr. West.
motion, but we didn't call the
Yes.
roll.
Yeah.
We did. We got a discussion. That's my fault. You got it.
I stopped, I check it off when we do this. Stop trying to mess with me. Here we go.
Bill
Let's
did
call
the
roll.
first. Mr. West did the second.
Yeah.
So we're ready. Ready now?
Mr. Schenkel, will you please call the roll?
Tell me one more time.
Please,
That's effective
please.
communication right there. Mr. West?
Yes.
Mrs. Werke?
Yes.
Pat Rocky?
Yeah.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
This is great.
Yes. Thank you. Moving on to new business G, Board of Education reports. Lisa?
So, nothing legislative, to report yet, because they're still on holiday. I would just also like to echo Brian's kudos to Mr. Dubs. The Business Advisory Council, attended the meeting virtually last week. So, lots of really great information and, partnerships and that are coming out from there. So thank you so much for that. So there are 3 focus areas that were detailed in that report that you guys saw that will be really good. And I'd also like to give a shout out to Mr. Walt with the GHS for his presentation on IT at GHS. Really good progress being made. I know my son was in his IT class in freshman year, and it was all through Sinclair. So it was taught by Sinclair and that, but now Mr. Walt is teaching those classes, and I'm sure it's much more exciting with that. And also getting women in IT is really big, and we all know that that's a minority in that area. So it's nice to get our girls in there and represented. So thank you.
Any questions? Corey?
Not a ton. Spoke with Bob and watched the meetings. Not a ton going on. One of the things, we saw the firehouse, the old firehouse get taken down. So that was the big thing that Bob and I spoke about. He had more to come. He just didn't want to let it go yet. So I think there's some things coming up. But that's really, kind of it in the housings going around. So.
All right. Thank you. Any questions? Bill?
With Live Oaks, or Great Oaks, excuse me, we had our groundbreaking at Laurel Oaks a couple weeks ago. Lieutenant Governor Newstead was there, spoke about the amazing things State of Ohio is involved in with manufacturing, future manufacturing. The groundbreaking was for our building that we're adding on to that campus up there for its construction sciences, what they're going to put in there, and also the advanced manufacturing and EV program as well. There's Fly, I brought with me. He was there.
It was around me when I was talking.
Yeah, he was.
Being a pilot.
Yeah. But it was great. Groundbreaking was pretty cool. He and Lieutenant Governor Newstead spoke with the kids for quite a while afterward. It was pretty cool because it seemed like, he got up there in front of everybody and spoke and said this and that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But he really, as soon as he finished speaking to those kids, there were probably 50, 200 kids out there that were there for the groundbreaking. And he just really wanted to speak to them first and foremost. It's cool. We have our spotlight on students. We have a couple kids this month spotlighted. Cameron Hager, he's in the Live Oaks heating, ventilating and air conditioning program. He won an October 2024 Award of Excellence. And Braden Beckstead, he's in the heavy equipment operations engineering program at Live Oaks. And he got a job placement with Town Construction Services. That's cool. And then the Oaks satellite here, the career-based intervention. September 19th, recruiters from U.S. Army visited with students in the CVI program at Goshen High School to discuss potential careers. And they were there to encourage students to consider the military as an option to help them achieve career and education goals. Yeah, a couple of CVI students were there, Raylan Christopher and Abigail Little. Thank you. And that's all I have.
Bill, if you don't mind, if you can start sending those to me, I can put those things in the weekly newsletter and spotlight those kids so more people in the community are aware that's happening.
I'll do that, yeah. They give them to us every jokes meetings. Yeah, I'll do that.
Any questions? Melissa?
I think my student achievement was a great presentation tonight. Thank you. So, yeah, I don't really have anything to add to that.
Yes.
Did great.
Thank you. And honestly, I have the PR meeting and Goshen Education Foundation. Our next meeting is November, so we haven't met since the last, and then audit and finance is coming in January. So quiet and outside of this meeting as well for me. Any questions for the board and different committees? All right.
I will be thanking GEF in probably my Friday newsletter. They did have the opportunity to meet the teacher scholarship or teacher grant meeting. They approved $6,700 of teacher grants. So I will be communicating that. That's given right back to our kids and from all of GEF's hard work. It's good to see, along with the PTO scholarships quite a bit too. So I'll be communicating those out very soon.
And
As everybody knows about.
Right?
Yes.
$10,000 grant. Yeah. All right, moving on to new business H, superintendent's report. Mr. Bailey.
All right, just real quick, goals update. Obviously, one of my big goals was the target area of communication and continue to improve communications, increase parent staff opportunities for input, and continue to communicate the success of our schools. Hopefully, everybody received their quality profile that's on your table in the mail. If not, it's the Goshen Post Office, and it will make it there by a way. It'll get there. I promise. It's in the mail if it's not in your mailbox already. I think as we talked early about report card, that is very important that we stay up to date on that, but we do a ton more than just state report card. And we try to highlight that throughout this. Obviously, we're looking at more than just meeting expectations. I did talk in there a little bit about responsibly planning for the future and the beginnings of the process we talked about tonight. Focus on the whole child and our mental health and all the supports that we have in place for kids, school safety, all the steps that we take here on campus to make sure that we're safe. And then a lot of highlights from each building that are more than just report card. And then obviously our senior class and how well they did on their way out the door to be successful. And then a little bit into building on the foundation and our career focus. Obviously athletics, fine arts, all the pieces that we have for a well-rounded education. And then Todd's section on fiscal stewardship. So hopefully, and then on the backside, you guys and the grub bus, but hopefully as folks get this, if nothing else, if you're communicating with folks, make sure they take a look at it. We will be distributing these to new neighborhoods. So this is the first, as people sit down at the model home and where Goshen School's about. Hopefully this tells a little bit of that story for them. But worked hard. Obviously want to thank Melinda and my team of administrators for putting a lot of data together. I think it really tells a good story of us as a district. So along with that, just continued action steps underneath communication. Obviously, we've met as an administrative team, talking to them about their input on the current status of public relations and proactive steps to promote our district. We'll be talking extensively tomorrow with our building principals about this RFQ process and what that means to start gathering some names and how we can get input. I've been around speaking publicly to different support groups, whether it be PTO, principals, advisory committees, boosters, GEF, other community groups. I'll be headed to the Lions Club at the end of this month. And I always do try to communicate the positives of our district as I get there. Scheduled, I should say, our State of the Schools night in collaboration with different groups in the district. It's going to be February 13th, 2025, and we're beginning to put that together. Lisa, that's where, as we talked about programs like Garrett Waltz, I think that's a great time to showcase that if it's not here at a board meeting one night, but let him highlight that. So we'll be putting that together. It'll have a little bit of a different spin. It's going to be focused on the future of our schools, hint, what's the future of Goshen schools look like for kids. And we will try to, get as many folks in as we can. The Bengal season will be over, but there's a Bengal season next year that I'm sure we can get tickets for. But we'll have some prize giveaways, and I know Teresa's possibly thinking about a spaghetti dinner. She's trying to plan to go along with it. But I think it'll be a nice night to highlight our kids, to highlight our staff, to
Very
highlight all the
romantic
great
evening.
stuff. And a romantic evening
You
for
know.
Valentine's Day.
We'll feed you some dinner. You can hang out with us.
Yeah. And then we're just going to continue to, be consistent with our communication with internal and external stakeholders. Hopefully the newsletters that, weekly are consistent at the building levels, mine, State of the Schools night, and then social media and student meetings coming up. And then you'll see later this week, we'll be highlighting, recognizing monthly staff members of the month. That's coming up middle of this week. So we just continue to try to make sure we're telling the story, what our staff's doing, what our kids are doing, so that the community's aware. Okay, that was the update question.
Who does this go out to?
That hits a lot of mailboxes.
Just
Everybody in Goshen Township.
That's what, okay.
Yes, not just parents.
Okay, cool.
Yes, everybody.
I was hoping you said.
Yep, a lot of mailboxes. Quickly, I put this on your table just in case you get questions. House Bill 147 was passed. It goes into effect October 24th. If you remember back around playoff football season last year, there was some discrepancies on online payments. But the other thing that they did with this bill was they essentially said that we had to have a different student ticket price than we did adult. So all leagues had to get together. I know you in the audience out there can't see that, but we changed nothing to the student prices. This was together, athletic directors got together, obviously looking at officiating costs, tried to put this together to where we were good with this for a few years, hopefully, but did honor that piece of having a different adult price than student price. So you really see the only changes really with the adult ticket prices, and that was at football, volleyball at the junior high level, and basketball at the junior high level. Everything else pretty much stayed the same. So we'd already been there on some of these. This is supposed to go into effect October 25th. And there was one night of regular season football left. The league made a decision to do 8 and 7 for that instead of going to 10 and 8. So we're at Batavia that week, so that's what Batavia is going to do. So it shouldn't be a big change there, one less dollar for the kids. Currently, it was 8 and 8, so the adult price goes to 10 and 8 for that. So those were the changes that were voted on by the league. Again, that wasn't done because the league wanted to do that. That came way of the House bill saying you had to have 2 different ticket prices, an adult and a student. Questions?
I'm guessing this is also helping with increase in ref fees.
A little bit. Now there's talk of football refs going from 95 to 110 and the 6-man crew next year. So I don't know that that's been completely determined, but those prices are going up some. So we'll see.
Still struggling to get the officials.
Yep.
He's looking for some $85 a game next year. Right now it's Saturday. I renewed my license.
And then lastly, just a reminder, you've got a packet on your table. Todd, inside of that capital conference packet is?
You've got like your reimbursement stuff and your tax exempt. The only thing we haven't gotten yet is actual confirmation for the hotel. So once I get that, I'll just shoot emails to you, and that way you'll have it. But that's all your stuff to get in there.
Then also Teresa will be communicating some dinner plans, and then obviously some of the pieces up there. But also
Yes, on Monday, October 11th is where your school colors. So at your seat, you got your new shirts. We're all match and represent Goshen Local School District.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then lastly, other trunk or treat. We've got a BOE trunk. It'll be right there at the football helmet blow up there with that group right at the start. Come out and join us. I think it's like 5:45 to 6 setup, 5:15 to 6 setup. Starts at 6:30 to 7:30 is the event. I kind of put on there 6 if you're there. But we'll be there if you're not doing something on your own. And then just, congratulations. I'm sure if you watch Facebook, look at it. We had a big week, a lot of kids doing great things. Boys varsity soccer conference champs. First time in school history, our marching band went over to Loveland, won best percussion as well as the fan favorite. Had a high school cross country runners, Nathan Burke and Emma Anderson were first team SBAC from the league meet at Wilmington this past weekend. 8th grade football and volleyball, back-to-back champs at each of those. It's a great group of kids coming up through there. GMS cross-country runner Madison Weaver, the team of one. She won the SBAC championship. And then our middle school cheerleaders, they're heading out to a lot of competitions this winter, which is cool to see. And they took first place. They've done it a little bit, but I think they're diving in a little bit more to some of this competition.
Yeah.
And they took first place as well as the Spirit Award in the competition over the weekend. So I'm sure there's plenty of more accolades, but that was a good wrap up of all the great things our kids are doing outside of the classroom. You heard about all the inside the classroom things this morning. Feels like this morning, earlier in the meeting. That's all I have. Questions?
Anything else? All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Stinko, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Warnke,
Yes.
Mrs. Pepperrocky,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Mrs. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned at 8:07 p.m.